changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Friday, and this is when we have a longer chat. I like to call it Friend Friday. And you know, this is my first week of podcasts, and you've been along for the ride, and I thank you for that. And I'm thrilled to end this week on a high note with a very special guest for my first Friend Friday. And my guest is my new friend, Supermodel Emme. And Emme, it is so cool to be talking to you today because I know you've been in the news a lot recently because there's a big conversation going on now about curvy women. Mattel has come out with a new curvy Barbie doll. Sports Illustrated has their new swimsuit issue out with curvy women in it. People are talking. People are empowering curvy women. And you, as the first supermodel in the curvy category, have really opened the doors for a lot of the models who have followed you. For all of you out there who kind of know Emme, I'm going to remind you who she is. She's a TV personality. She's a model, but she's also a mom. She's an author. She's a brand spokesperson. She's creative director of her own clothing lines. She's a lecturer. And she's a globally recognized women's advocate for positive body image and self-esteem. So, Emme, welcome. Can you talk to us a little bit about everything that's going on right now in the curvy world?
Amy, it's so great to talk to you and say hi and to be a part of this wonderful Friends Friday. I love it. My whole heart feels good on Friday when I go, I'm going to see friends tonight or I'm going to get out, and it makes me feel good. So I'm so happy you're doing this podcast. It makes me equally happy, and I'm like a little kid, so excited, and I jump up and down with new things that are happening for women that, you know, I just have to keep on pinching myself and saying, is this real? Is this really happening? And, you know, it just seems like the zeitgeist, that the cultural thought process, not only within our country, but it seems like around the world, that women are starting to use their voices, Amy, in such a beautiful way, curvy, non-curvy, and a lot of the men that are in our lives are also using their voices to say, we need more diverse representation of who we are as well as what we feel beauty is about, not just what we're being told what beauty is about. We feel differently, and I think that's now being reflected in more mass media advertising and the cultural zeitgeist. You could almost feel or hear or sense that deep sigh of like relief and also cheers. You hear that?
I agree with you. It is a relief for women because our men have been telling us that we look great. And then we say to them, well, yeah, but, and it's because of this insane image we see out there. So it's so positive for all of us to see real women being celebrated for how good real women look.
Right. And it's not just, this is not an issue of curvy versus not. This is a women's issue. It's inclusive beauty. I always say, Amy, I talk to little kids. I love them. They're little noodlings. And when they're young and impressionable and they're just starting out, and sometimes even at elementary school, just to kind of give a few good words about, you know, we're bouquets of beauty. Could you imagine this world being only filled with daisies when you knew about all the different kind of flowers that are out there? And all the kids go, no way, that wouldn't be cool. That wouldn't be nice. I said, even think about this. How about if all of us looked like your principal or me, and that was the only way we look like? And they look, their eyes and their nose gets all squinchy. I go, wouldn't that be boring? And they're like, yeah, that would be bad. So I'm like, that's why we're different. We should be different. And they said, we also should be skipping, jumping, playing, moving, dancing, swimming, doing basketball, because we are physical people. We need this body. And if we move our body, it gets to stay with us for a long, long time. And if we think good of our body and our friends, then we get to have lots and lots of friends and lots of fun. And, you know, if you get a lot of sleep, you do well in school. I mean, I really break it down to a very, very young-minded way, but I think the message is really right for all of us, that if we all were the same, it would not be an interesting life.
I agree with you. And you have a great line in your bio, which says, to awaken the inner magnificent inherent in each of us to be whole. And I want to point out, you were the first model invited to speak before a congressional subcommittee in Washington about a mission to increase public awareness of eating and body image disorders. And the other thing that I thought was really cool was when we got together for breakfast a couple of weeks ago, you talked about how we have to move and become one with our bodies again, because women have this tendency to be like, okay, I'm me and I'm living in my head. And then I'm attached to this body, which is this other thing. And I know you are a total jock and you do all kinds of sports. And you and I talked about the need to just move, whether you like kickboxing or walking on the sidewalk or rowing crew or skiing, whatever it is, you want to move your body.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that there's so much pressure, guilt, and shame, about our bodies, and that we have to lug these suckers around. Well, I want to just shift our consciousness from the lugging to the hugging of what we have. And you know, when we wake up in the morning, 5 things of gratitude immediately. Come on, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And something in there has to be, I'm so grateful to have this really healthy body, you know, to be able to get up and take me and my mind and my soul from every appointment, to hugging my children, to loving my husband, boyfriend, partner, to feeling the awe when I go and take a look at the Grand Canyon, like feeling that awesomeness of a beautiful sunset. And you know, so many people, when we have soldiers coming back from the war and they really have fought a good fight and they lose limbs and they have such a cost to freedom. We as individuals that have not fought that war or are really lucky that we're intact, it's the honor and the grace of really taking ourselves seriously on a physical level instead of saying, oh, that doesn't matter. Well, it does. You don't want to be sick all your life. You don't want to be so frail that you're not filling yourself with essential nutrients and vitality in life. And also on the other end of you know, just completely cutting ourselves off in our heads to our bodies and not gracing our bodies and feeding ourselves well and exercising well. There's an in-between, there's a median where you don't kill yourself like the 80s and Jane Fonda, but it's blessing and feeling happy about getting out for a few miles of a walk on a Sunday with your family, to doing an exercise video in the morning. If you only have 25 minutes, do at least that, you know, and to, when you break bread with your friends and family, to not say, oh, I'm not going to have this. Oh, that's bad food for me. No, eat heartily and wow. My God, that's the best part of eating. But be aware of what you are consuming instead of being mindless, mindful. There's a whole bunch of things that if we could just guide ourselves and help who we hang with. You know, a lot of our girlfriends, the first things they'll say, boy, you look like you've lost weight. Instead of, you know, what movie have you seen? You look like you're shining today, or something outside of just the lookism that we reflect back and forth to one another, because then you stay in that tiny little circle instead of living this abundantly large, experiential life that's sitting there waiting for us if we just tap it ourselves.
So, Emme, since we want to live life and become one with our bodies and become friends with the bodies that we were issued, let's talk about Barbie, and let's talk about Curvy Barbie. Tell everybody what has just happened in the world of dolls.
So this is magnificence at its best when a very large company, American company, known for play within our young, impressionable children's minds, allowing imaginations to go. Barbie, this year, it introduced the fashionista line that included more body diversity within their Barbie line, which is incredible. So they have a curvy Barbie, a tall Barbie, and a petite Barbie. And it comes in all different hues of color, and this is a very, very, very first. Now, I came out in 2002 with the Emme collectible doll out from Robert Tonner's wonderful Magical Hands, and that was in FAO Schwartz. It sold out. We had a big, huge the toy fair was in. It's taking place right now, and my doll was like, oh, talked about. So I took the opportunity when I had press and said, Mattel, come on, please come out with curvy Barbies. There's millions and millions of kids really wanting to have more of a reflection of their own play in their everyday. And, it takes patience and it takes mindful reminders to communicate and to use your voice. And I just talked to the designers 2 nights ago at the Women in Toys gala event where Mattel was being honored with the Game Changer Award for their fashionista line. And I was a co-presenter to give Mattel this particular award, which was really remarkable. I felt like I was floating to the stage because this was so monumental for this company to do this. And children are reacting in such, it's truly, yes, I know Mattel, their numbers were going down because a lot of women, a lot of mothers and new mothers were saying, if they don't do diversity, I'm not going to buy in, which was beautiful. Their voices were heard. Major bloggers were being very vocal about this. So for Mattel to turn and to really embrace this messaging and understanding this was so important for young kids and their body image and their self-esteem, and they actually did it and invested millions of dollars to do this, they're going to be rewarded down the road, and if not right now, with increasing the offerings within the diverse array of how women look like or how girls look like. They're going to, they told me that they're going to actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm just like clapping and rooting on the side. I'm just very, very, very happy that Mattel stood up to the challenge.
That's great. I think it's the beginning of a whole new conversation in this country about curvy women. It's a very healthy conversation. And the cool thing about it is that Emme and I are announcing today that we are making a book together for Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's going to be called Chicken Soup for the Soul, Curvy and Confident. You'll be able to see the cover with Emme's beautiful smiling face. And
yep.
We are going to start collecting stories from all the curvy women out there who are going to tell us how fabulous they are. It's going to be a very empowering book with 101 stories from women who are curvy and are just fine with that. And I'm very excited about it because it's exactly what we do at Chicken Soup for the Soul. We like to say that we are changing your life one story at a time. And I think with this book, we are going to help a lot of women. And it makes me really proud that we can do this.
Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but it makes me very, very happy that women are going to see themselves in these pages. They're going to say, oh, I feel that way. So whether, it's loving yourself and your body. These stories are all going to be reflective of little bits of us. And it's not just for, women who are all curvy. It is for all of us to see that these stories are going to touch us all women. It really is. All women have curves.
And I think we're going to do a lot in these stories about this other theme, which I love so much that you and I talked about at breakfast, which is becoming one with your body again, feeling comfortable in your body, not viewing it as this thing that your brain is inside, but you're one whole package. And I love that. And I actually was thinking about that yesterday when I was preparing to do this podcast and I was writing things down. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go exercise because that's what Emme would tell me to do. And I went and I got on the exercise bike for half an hour and then I lifted some weights. Of course, they were pathetic 3-pound weights, but for me that works.
Cares?
That's right. And I was like reintegrating with my body. And so it was very exciting. So Emme, thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast. I can't wait to show everybody what we've made together with our book.